Hello everyone. In this lecture, we are going to talk about biomolecules. Before we start to understand the classification of biomolecules, let's try to have a brief picture of this specific term. So bio basically is referring to the biological bodies, and molecules means the combination of different atoms, right? So basically all the molecules that are present in the biological bodies are referred as the biomolecules. So whatsoever the living body you can imagine, for example, me, myself, you, or maybe plants, animals, fruits, vegetables, microorganisms, every single living organism is made up of certain constituents, and those constituents are known as biomolecules, which is today's topic. So when we talk about biomolecules, we talk about four major classified categories. The first category is carbohydrates. You might have heard about glucose, fructose. So all these kind of molecules are termed as carbohydrates. Second category is lipids, fats and oils. These are all lipids. Proteins. Protein is a very general term these days. So proteins are also one of the important biomolecules. The next one is nucleic acids. Have you ever heard about DNA, RNA? So these molecules are nothing but the nucleic acids. So basically all the living bodies, they are composed of biomolecules, and particularly four major types of biomolecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. So biomolecules are like polymers. Now you know what are polymers? Polymers are basically the molecules formed by the joining of smaller monomeric units. So when small monomers they join together, they form long polymers. So these molecules are also certain kind of polymers. Now talking about carbohydrates first, if we talk about them, carbohydrates are also polymers of something, and the small monomeric unit of carbohydrate molecules are known as the monosaccharides. Talking about lipids, lipids are not polymers, but rather they are small simple molecules which are formed from a backbone of glycerol onto which certain fatty acids have been attached. So basically there is a glycerol backbone and there are certain fatty acids attached over it. We will look onto this when we will go in depth, when we will read about the chapter lipids in detail. Talking about proteins. Now proteins, again, these are the polymeric molecules. So these are formed by the small monomeric units known as the amino acids. Now talking about nucleic acids, these are also polymeric units. So the polymers of nucleic acids have been formed by the monomeric unit known as the nucleotide. So we have discussed about four categories of biomolecules. Carbohydrates, which are long chains of monosaccharides. Lipid molecules, which has a glycerol backbone onto which fatty acids have been attached. Proteins, these are the long chains of amino acids. Nucleic acids, which are the long chains of nucleotides. Now talking about carbohydrates, they perform a variety of functions inside the living bodies, such as providing energy. So whatever the activities we perform in our day-to-day life, everything is happening because of carbohydrates, because of the food we eat, which is metabolized and particularly converted into glucose at the end, which is metabolized by the body to produce a lot of energy, and that is why we are performing our day-to-day functions. For example, I'm teaching right now. That is all because of the energy I obtained by eating my last meal. There are major other functions of carbohydrates as well, such as they are a part of the structural components inside the cell. Lipids, on the other hand, they are also having important functions in the body, such as they are an important component of the cell membrane of the cell. Proteins, they also have diverse functions inside the cells. For example, they can act as enzymes which are responsible for carrying out all the reactions in the body. They are also the defense molecules, such as the immunoglobulins, the antibodies that we all talk about, those are also proteins. And nucleic acids, the fourth component, these are the important genetic components in the cell, like DNA, RNA. So all the genetic information has been carried by the nucleic acids in the cell. Now, talking about the elements that are present in each of these categories. So, whenever you will look into the structure of a typical carbohydrate, you will find carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in it. Similarly, looking onto the lipids also, you will find carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen primarily. When you see proteins, you will find carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and nitrogen as well. And when you see the structure of nucleic acids, you will find carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus. So these are the major elements present in each of these biomolecules. From the next lecture series, we will start discussing about each of these biomolecules in detail.